Have you ever wanted to make good VFX inside of Blender, but you didn't know how? Well, this is the video for you.
I'm in a league of my own, I told them. Ice in my chains that remind me I'm the coldest. Ice in my veins, leave your whole block frozen. Too much on the line, so I can't lose focus. I know this is greatness unfolding. In front of your eyes, this my magnum opus.
Now, in order to create a VFX shot in Blender, you're going to need a camera. This is the Sony Alpha 3000 with an 18 to 55mm lens. I will personally be using 28mm, but it is up to you what focal length you use.
Now, when taking the picture for your VFX shot, you're just going to want to make sure that wherever your subject is going to be is very clear and visible. Other than that, it's up to you where it is, what you're taking a picture of, all that stuff. Now, another thing you need for your VFX shot is a subject. I just got this idle animation from Mixamo, but you can use whatever you want. After you've downloaded it, you can go ahead and hop into Blender. Now, for today's video, I'm going to be working in Blender version 4.0, but you can use whatever version you prefer. Now, the first thing you want to do is you're going to go ahead and add in your subject. As I already said, this is just going to be that little Mixamo guy, but again, it can be whatever you want to add into your shot. After you have your subject added in, you want to go ahead and add a camera using Shift A and going down to Camera. Now, to put it to the view where you're at, press Ctrl, Alt, and 0. Next is to align your camera. I use walk navigation, which can be done by going to Navigation, Walk Navigation, but I have that balanced to Shift F. Next, you're going to want to change the focal length of the camera inside of Blender. I know that I took the picture at 28mm, but this can be different for you, so change it accordingly. After you set your focal length to 28, or whatever you put, you want to enable background image in the camera settings tab, and set it to the picture that you took. Once you have your background image in place, you want to go to the output properties, and go down to film, and check transparent. This will ensure that the background is actually visible in the render. Once that's done, you can go ahead and align the camera so that way it lines up with the shot better. You can do this by pressing N and going to the properties tab, view, and then checking lock camera to view. After that, it's just a matter of making sure that the Blender camera and the picture that you took align correctly. Once you think that you have your camera aligned and scaled correctly, you can check this by pressing Shift and middle mouse click and moving the camera around to make sure this camera appears to be in the shot. Once you have your camera aligned correctly, it's time to add in a plane. This plane is going to catch the shadow over our character, making it seem more realistic. After you've added the plane in, go to the Object Data Properties, down to Visibility, and then enable Shadow Catcher. In the case of my image, I have a window in the background illuminating the scene, so I'm going to add an area light in and increase the size and strength so that way it imitates the window inside of Blender. After you add in your area light, search for a color that seems to be very dominant inside of the scene. In the case of my scene, I have a very light blue dominant color, so I'm going to select that. After that, I'll decrease the strength a little bit, and we'll get some very nice balanced lighting. Now, most people will probably look at this and think that it's pretty good, and yes, it is pretty good. But there's something else that we can do to this to make it more realistic. Select the plane, and then press tab to go into edit mode. Now, click Edge Select, and then click one of the edges on the plane. Extrude that on the Z-axis upwards until it's outside the view of the camera. Now select the edge that is at the 90-degree angle and press Ctrl B to bevel. Increase the segments to get a very smooth backdrop. After this, go into the Shading tab and click on the Principled BSDF and press Ctrl T. After this, change the input from the Texture Coordinate node from UV to Window. Then, click on the Image node and add in the image that we used earlier for the background. This method turns the plane essentially into the background image, allowing us to get more realistic bounce lighting as if the image was actually in the scene. Now it's time to render an image so that we can do our compositing work. Once the image is rendered, copy the following compositing setup to put the render on top of your image. That compositing setup will work just fine, but there's still more that we can do to make this look more realistic. Here I have 3 compositing node groups. The first one adds chromatic aberration. This is these little strips of color that you see on the edge of objects because of how the light exponentially falls off of objects rather than a harsh cutoff. The second one is an exponential glare, which makes a very realistic but soft glare coming off of light objects or very lit objects. The third is digital sensor noise, which essentially adds noise over dark areas of the video. Once you have all that done, you can go up and hit that glorious render animation button and see your finished product.